How's it going? How's it going? This was a story that I was going to cover yesterday, but then I saw the squatter article and I just couldn't pass it up. But this story is sad because it was preventable. As a gun owner myself, safety is like the number one thing that most gun owners do. And the thing is, it was preventable, but Alec Baldwin, being Alec Baldwin, thinks that he doesn't have to be held responsible to the same standards as normal gun owners because he's an actor. There's people in the field that says he shouldn't be charged because he's an actor. He shouldn't need to know about gun safety, and I disagree strongly because evidence is a person's dead that will never be able to come back to life, be able to finish the film because people didn't take gun safety seriously. It's a tragic story. This is from Fox News. Alec Baldwin could be charged again in fatal rush shooting as new report claims he pulled the trigger. Baldwin originally faced charges of involuntary manslaughter, but they were dropped in April by Lauren Overhertz. Fox News published August 16th, 2023, 12:10 p.m. Eastern Time. See what Fox has to say. A new report concluded that despite his denial, Alec Baldwin had to pull the trigger of the gun to fire on the set of Rust in October 2021. He should be, doesn't matter if he pulled the trigger or not pulled the trigger, he should have been able to clear the round, check for rounds. At bare minimum, if he's going to be holding a gun, he needs to be taking safety as your primary concern. I get there's people that want to go after the armor, but the responsibility is the person that held the gun in an unsafe manner. The shooting led to the death of Hanya Hutchinson, and a year-long legal battle has ensued as investigators work to find justice for the cinematographer. I think 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 years in prison for involuntary manslaughter would be perfect. I don't think he went out there to kill Miss Hutchins. But there's got to be some repercussions. He pointed a loaded gun at someone and pulled the trigger and killed someone and hurt another one. As a film's armor, Hannah Perez Reeds gears up for her scheduled December trial. Her legal team is focused on a new report from an independent forensic firearm expert, Lucent Hogg and Mike Hogg, who were commissioned by the prosecution to conduct that Baldwin had pulled the trigger of the gun in order to fire it. Alec Baldwin has repeatedly denied pulling the trigger. Given the tests and findings, observations report here, the trigger had to be pulled or depressed significantly to release a fully cocked and retracted hammer of the evidence revolver. Report obtained by Fox News Digital. The fatal incident was consequence of the hammer being manually retracted to its fully rearward and cocked position, followed at some point by the pull of the rearward depression of the trigger. Special prosecutors dismissed involuntary manslaughter against Baldwin in April, but noted that the June 9th filing that they would refile the revolver had not been modified. There are some rumors that was modified to allow for the gun to fire without the trigger being pressed. That was the claim that was told, but they proved that that was not the case. The gun had a broken sear and been sent to the state's independent expert for further testing. Charges against Alec Baldwin were dismissed without prejudice because a possible malfunction of the gun significantly affects causation within regards to Baldwin, not with regard to Guzman. The document reads, If determined the gun did not malfunction, charges against Mr. Baldwin will proceed. I mean, I think, I mean, I get why they're going after the armor, but I don't think the armor should bear responsibility. I mean, she should never work again in that area, but their special prosecutor Carl Moresi told Fox News Digital on Wednesday that new charges against Baldwin are being considered, but the final decision has yet to be made. Fox News Digital reached out from a representative from the actor. Watch attorney on Alec Baldwin charges being dropped. This is justice for everyone. I disagree. Your client killed someone because of reckless endangerment, not taking gun safety seriously. I don't care if he's just an actor. That crap doesn't fly. However, legal experts told Fox News Digital that the new report on its own isn't enough to recharge Baldwin. The expert report does bolster the prosecution case a bit, but it's problematic that he had to reconstruct the gun with new parts. The report I heard is that they tried to get this to fire without the trigger being pulled. In the process, they hit it with a mallet and it broke some parts in order to get it to fire. Let's see here. Had to be reconstructed with new parts. Personal injury lawyer Miguel Casudo, a partner at Los Angeles-based Custodio and Duvey, said once you start tinkering with evidence like that, it's easy for Alec Baldwin defense to say the gun didn't work properly to begin with, and the FBI damaged it. Putting it back together again doesn't prove anything, and it's true whenever you alter evidence, you have problems. I just don't think it's enough to recharge Baldwin yet. I have to wonder why the special prosecutor put pressure on themselves earlier this year that would make the decision by mid-August on whether to file charges against Baldwin. Clearly, they were waiting for this report. It seems like they have really struggled with the I can't say that word for some reason, trying to charge him, and I think that this report is flimsy evidence to recharge him on. The new report by the special prosecutor expert echoes similar conclusion as the FBI forensic analyst, which was released in August 22. The FBI performed an accidental discharge test and found that the gun used in the fatal shooting of Hutchins could not be made to fire without the pull of the trigger, according to the report obtained by ABC News. The test showed that the revolver hammer was in the quarter or half cocked position. The gun would not fire. When the hammer was fully cocked position, the gun could not be made to fire without the pull of the trigger while working with internal components where they were intact and functional. Baldwin has maintained that he did not pull the trigger of the gun in multiple interviews. I don't really care. Your hand was on the gun and it went off. You failed to check to make sure the gun was not loaded. That is on you. It's not on the armor. It's not on the prop manager. They're there to mitigate to make sure that this doesn't happen, but the responsibility falls onto the person holding the gun, in my opinion. I know that people in the movie industry or Hollywood will disagree, and that's why they hire prop managers and armors, so they take the blame, but you cannot hire away personal responsibility. The actor describes the moment the gun was discharged during the TV appearance on December 21, months after the fatal shooting. I let go of the hammer of the gun, Baldwin told ABC George Stephanopoulos, and the gun goes off. I mean, you should have checked to make sure the gun wasn't loaded. Baldwin and Hutchins have been set up for a shot where the actor was supposed to draw the gun and point at the camera while standing next to the camera. The cinematographer was guiding Baldwin on to where to point the gun. He said the gun wasn't meant to be fired in that angle, he confirmed. I didn't pull the trigger. Baldwin reiterated The gun's supposed to be empty. He said, well, supposed to be empty means that you didn't check. You failed basic gun safety. Congratulations, you killed someone. And you should be held responsible for that. So good to know that an independent study performed by firearm experts has concluded that it requires pulling the trigger before a gun will fire. That gun doesn't just go off. A lot of us have been saying that for quite some time now, but it's good to have corroborations of our opinions and teams of experts. The internet may not have been there, but the unintended action still occurred. The trigger was pulled whether Baldwin meant it or inadvertently pulled it. You mean the plaintiff hired and paid the private experts and tried to counter the FBI expert? He should be convicted just for pointing a gun directly at another person without just cause. I am a court-certified firearm expert. Without having access to discovery, it's hard to come to a lot of conclusions. However, this is at least negligent discharge. The intent to kill may not be there, but the result of the action is neglect. Act it still is. Yes, neglect by the person handling the gun to Baldwin, and said the gun was cold. Wrong. Baldwin should have checked it. He did not. This is what I'm talking about. You got people in Hollywood saying that he should not be charged because he's just an actor. He is paid to recite lines. He is not a gun expert. Whenever you have guns on set, everyone should have basic knowledge on how to operate said machine. If they're going to be using it, they need to have some responsibility, some skin in the game. Baldwin was not there to shoot the guns or do safety checks. He was there to film a scene involving a prop, but the prop had a bullet in it. Whoever handed him a gun is responsible for checking it and making sure it was cold. False. 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 It's everyone who touches that gun's responsibility. IR, a certified weapons expert. Why does that have to do anything with the legal definition the court may give to the jury? Any particular level is their state's criminal rules or criminal rules? Sorry, dude, stick to your claim. Expertise in that particular model revolver and a AD without a trigger release. Because as an expert, I could be called upon to explain the technical terms to a jury. I carried a variety of firearms professionally, and as a citizen, not once in 40 years did one of them fire on their own. If guns could fire on their own, it would be highly irresponsible and illegal to possess a loaded gun, and if it could just fire on their own at any time. While I don't think the gun went off, I'm going to guess that the guns you carry are far more modern design than the one in question. That doesn't really matter. Well, it was Hollywood guns, so they're magical. Two things. Anyone who handles guns. Anyone who handles a gun must be handed an empty gun by showing that it's empty, and the handler then takes the gun and verifies it again, or him or herself. Second, never point a gun at anything or anyone you don't intend to shoot, like a producer standing next to the camera. If you don't know the rules of gun safety or safe gun handling, you shouldn't handle a firearm. The person holding the gun is responsible. The person who handed the gun to the handler is also responsible because he or she should have verified the gun was empty, and the handler has done the required safety check to make sure it was empty. Also treat a gun as it's loaded until you verify that it isn't. Always know and follow the rules of safe gun handling. The NRA could have taught Baldwin about safe gun handling, but no, he hated the NRA and preferred to be unsafe, irresponsible, and ignorant of safe gun handling. Does the video show him pulling the trigger? Has anyone checked? Very well said. Keep your finger off the trigger and out of the trigger guard until you're ready to shoot. know your target and what's behind it. Yes, the NRA could have taught him a few things, and anyone handling the firearms has an obligation to know the rules of safety handling. Has an obligation. I agree. Isn't there such? Isn't the rule or the first rule? There is no such thing as an empty gun. Treat every gun as if it was loaded. Forbear. Second rule: keep your hand off the trigger and out of the trigger guard until you're ready to fire, even if you're chasing criminals. Third rule: always point the gun at a safe direction. Baldwin broke all three. If he obeyed even one, nothing would have happened. I've owned revolvers of the same brand. It will not fire unless the trigger is pulled. It's a shame that the armor put a live round in the gun on set. We don't know if it was the armor. I don't think that was ever been. Maybe it was proven. I just haven't been paying attention. Let's see here. Don't expect the woke hypocrite like Baldwin to know the first thing about guns, since he has money to pay for protection while blasting our constitutional right to defend ourselves. I stand behind Alec Baldwin. It's far safer than standing in front of him. Of course, try to get some new materials, man. Try to get some new materials. Soon as Alec kills again. He's killed more people than I have, and I went to a war zone. Just saying. His most incriminating words, which should land him in jail, are, "The guns are supposed to be empty," he said. This clearly lays out a case that he didn't even examine the gun before putting it to use. If that isn't gross negligence leading to an involuntary manslaughter, then I don't know what is. Negligent homicide, same thing. The gun was supposed to be empty. Will set him free. It's a movie set. People have jobs. I'm sorry, but I used to work in the business, and you're 100% incorrect. Go read the SAG Safety Bulletin from November 2009. The first statement is, as an actor, you're ultimately responsible for your own safety and the safety of your fellow cast members. Baldwin had a job too, and he failed to do it. Ooh. So you're both FBI and independent expert concluded that the gun could not be fired without pulling the trigger. Proceed with involuntary manslaughter charges and let the jury of his peers decide the outcome. Hyla's family deserves justice. Exactly. Who was holding the gun? Alec Baldwin. Who pointed the gun at Miss Hutchinson's? Alec Baldwin. Who caused the gun to fire? Alec Baldwin. Who gets charged for involuntary manslaughter? Alec Baldwin. Until Enter the Stage Left, there is not the streets of LA. It's a movie set. People have jobs. You're defending the Hollywood. You're defending this piece of shit of an actor. Show me the job description that includes murdering people. Movie set armors has what duties? As I mentioned before, armors and prop masters are there to mitigate accidents. They're not there to bear full responsibility. What you make no sense whatsoever. Let's see here. The experts obviously haven't read the owner manual for the gun. I have. It tells you exactly what not to do to avoid unintentional discharge. Baldwin did exactly what the manual said never to do. Further, he had his finger on the trigger before he pulled the hammer back and released it. Just watch the practice takes and you'll see he draws the gun with his finger on the trigger both takes. He's a liberal, thus cannot be held accountable for his action. It was Trump's fault. Or the gun manufacturer. Trump, the summarily scapegoat for this nation. Trump is becoming Snowball from Animal Farm. This is some pretty simple stuff. The type of handgun cannot go without the trigger being pulled by someone. The prosecutor, Addy, should be investigated for having dropped the charges to begin with. Name one gun that hasn't been modified that will fire without the pull of a trigger. I mean, there's always some type of trigger mechanism. Technically, a flintlock could catch a stray spark in the pan. The gun did not kill the person that pulled the trigger, caused the death. Case in point, Like the drunk driver that caused vehicular death, you do not blame the car for death, you blame the driver. Until Park didn't hold it and rolling down the hill after the shop fixed it. Welcome to the mess. That makes no sense. I don't know. This is very tragic. It's tragic. Someone had to lose their life. And hopefully that means that Alec Baldwin might be criminally charged, which I think he should be. I think he bears most of the responsibility. Sure, the prop master and the armor there is to mitigate, to make sure that this doesn't happen, but that doesn't resolve Alec Baldwin on his role to play. With that being said, that is my video for today. Leave a comment down below if you choose. And most importantly, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.